Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. It's time for Versus. There's a lot to discuss. It's a craptacular January. And amidst all that, we have Section 31 on Paramount Plus. And the Oscar nominations are here. And wow, the reaction is off the charts in a WTF kind of way. We will talk about it with our crew here. Some people showing up late, but we will have a lot of fun. Alan is here. I see him. I see him in the background. I don't know what he's doing. But let's get this thing started. Let's go. Let's start the show. Let's go. Hey everyone. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah.
I got a wasting disease.
Yeah.
I got to watch all 10 episodes of Spider-Man.
I'm watching it tonight.
Wow.
And the mystery movie at AMC, which I'll talk about on Friday. I think I know what it is. A little detective work. You just look at the running time, R-rated R. Okay. All right. Everyone introduce themselves. Here we go.
Hey, I'm the script doctor back again to diagnose all of Hollywood's troubles, but happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm the viceroy of verisimilitude, and I'm very upset. Check out my film Noir. It's very good. Sorry.
I'm the Angry Badger. Goddamn, why did I watch Section 31? Why did they make Section 31? Why did they ruin my favorite IP?
Yeah. Correct.
What's happening, guys? Dante from Verbal Riot. Sorry I'm late.
All good, man.
And I'm Alan Film Thread. Weirdly, today we're going to talk about how bad Section 31 is. And we all disagree about how bad it was.
Let's
do it! Let's go!
All right. Well, we'll get to Section 31, but I'd like to look at the box office, Alan, if you would bring up the box office. We look every week. Flight Risk was the big movie last week. And I think, did only Alan and I see it?
Well, I saw an assembly cut of it last year, so I have no idea what the final cut is like, but I want to check it out because I enjoyed the assembly cut.
People have liked it.
It's a normal bad movie. It's bad for reasons. The script, the CGI, there's a CGI moose in the beginning for some reason. One of the sets exterior is a CGI. I mean, no surprise CGI, this flight movie. It's it might have made a better episode of a TV show. It doesn't
right,
really...
but I think it was made on an indie budget, and quite frankly, if this were an indie film, we'd probably be looking at it better than that. But it's Mel Gibson, and it's three people on an airplane.
It's the worst Mel Gibson movie because he's made some really great films, and so there. But the Mark Wahlberg, it just is goofy. After a while, you can't take him seriously. Jeremy Johns did a great 3-minute review of the movie and does a perfect imitation of Mark Wahlberg. It's hilarious. Actually, he gets the tone right. Go watch that. We love Jeremy.
But do you realize that he shaved his head for a joke? For a single
right.
So he did shave his head. It's not a bald cap with
he shaved
But he was chewing, the stuff that I saw, he was chewing up the scenery, and it was just really entertaining to watch. as cringy as some of the stuff he did say, which I was told that we're going to fix that in the final cut. I'm like, all right.
It looks like it would be
I don't
fun.
think they did based on some of the stuff I'm hearing you two say.
Yeah.
Look, it's no Passion of the Christ or Apocalypto. It's three people on a plane.
Well, the number one movie at the box office made $11.5 million, which is tiny. Mufasa hanging in there with 8.7 million. One of them days, second weekend, 8 million. That's respectable.
How is that possible?
What, one of them days?
No, that Mufasa's still even on the list.
Yeah,
it's on the list. It's on the list. But one of them days hanging in there with 8 million. Whatever you think of it, it's already profitable. It only dropped 32%. Look at this. Sonic 3, 5.3 million, only down 38%. Moana 2 still making money, 4.3 million. Presents with Neon already in profits. The movie only cost $2 million, grossed first weekend 3.3 million. Wolfman, colossal disappointment, 70% drop, 3.2 million, a total take of 17 million. A Complete Unknown still hanging in there with 3.1 for a total of 62 million for a drama biopic. Den of Thieves 2, which Alan and I both did not like, 2.9 million. And The Brutalist, 2.8 million for a total of 9.3 million. By the way, Brutalist, 3.5 hour historical epic, is only cost 10 million. So this movie in the end will make money. And I do think and it went up, it expanded in more theaters. And we could have a whole conversation about that. So all right, thoughts on box office before
Where's the monkey movie? Where's Robbie Williams movie?
It's not. It's out of theaters.
Oh,
it's not out of theaters, but they're not reporting its numbers.
I've not heard one bad thing about that. I actually did hunt Rob for a bad review on it. Everyone likes it. Gary likes it. Everyone that should not doesn't even know who Robbie Williams is. They watch it and they get a great movie about a sobriety tale and
and also a very impressive cinematography as well. Like really good editing and cinematography. I enjoyed the film, and the only thing I remember about Robbie Williams after the fact was when my girlfriend showed me the original music video for that big number that they did in England.
Right.
And I remember that video because that was nightmare fuel because he's ripping off his skin in that.
Now let me talk about the cost of the movie. It's well over $100 million. That centerpiece, that video on the streets of London, they were a day away from shooting, and the Queen died, and that shut down the production, and they had to re-raise all that money to shoot it again at a future date. And so I think a lot of the cost of that movie is in that one mishap.
Yeah, one shot. It's one take, which is
a pseudo one take, but a really well done pseudo one take.
It was a 4-day shoot, and they couldn't shoot it the first time, and they had to re-raise the money all over again to get it shot the second time.
Yeah. So this is January. This weekend will not be better. There's a movie called Companion coming out from the director of Barbarian. I can't wait to see it.
Produced by not the director of Barbarian. Zach Krieger wrote and directed Barbarian, but he's producing Companion.
Right. Okay. Producing Companion.
By the way, the script for that was great.
Well, the trailer, I recommend do not watch the trailer.
No, it gives way too much away.
Major spoilers in the trailer that a friend of mine who has seen the movie saw the trailer and said, why are they ruining? These are great twists.
Yeah.
So very disappointing. So there you go. A couple of quick things, reminders for people to please support the channel. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. I know I say it, but I am wearing our new signature shirt. The Oscars can suck it, in celebration of award this. I'm going to put myself full screen so you can see it. I love this shirt.
I know words.
It's a good looking shirt.
I think for this year, the Oscars will suck it.
They will kind of suck. So go there. And a reminder that award this is this Sunday, and everyone on the panel is invited. It's our annual event celebrating the best of truly indie films. It's at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. It's once a year. It's a party, red carpet, cocktails. Rob, you've been there.
It's great.
It's a blast.
I've won.
Yes. And we have 20 categories. You'll get tastes. It's like samplings of indie movies and hanging out. And
it's cool to meet all the filmmakers too.
The film, it's just a great vibe. It's a lot of creative energy, and I love it. So,
by the way, did you hear? They've announced The Lost Boys is going to premiere on Broadway.
The Lost Boys on Broadway. Hey, Steph, thanks for coming.
They're turning The Lost Boys into a Broadway musical. They dropped this at 1:00 on Deadline, and it's got a lot of great people involved, and they're going to do a preview of it in March.
Wow. Well,
better than remaking it.
I feel like it's going to have Spider-Man vibes.
Yeah.
No.
But well, there you go. So award this, and if you cannot attend, it will be on YouTube the next day. So Monday, maybe Tuesday. We might push it to Tuesday, but it will be next week. We will announce a date. But the live event, there's nothing like it. Booze, gift bags, and a lot of fun. So,
But the most important question I have is Neft Vodka going to be there?
there will be vodka for you, Dante. Actually, you're presenting an award.
I'm presenting, so yeah,
It's a tradition. Yeah.
it is.
We will discuss it. But it'll be a lot of fun. So, okay, before we get to section 31 and the Oscar noms and everything, we have a lot of Oscar stories. A new Superman TV spot dropped. And I don't know. Now, if we show it, we're going to get dinged. So I'm not, it's very short. It's 30 seconds, not much to see.
Can I just say that James Gunn has responded to this whole controversy and said
I have it.
There's
I
none,
have
right?
it.
Okay, don't.
I have it. Don't
Oh,
worry.
yeah. Yeah,
I'm
like
well
Chris
prepared. I'm well prepared.
All
I'm well
right.
prepared for this. So, but well, let's see. Here's the shot that people are talking about. Here, if you guys see
Oh,
it
no.
on
Oh,
the
no.
display,
Ah,
there.
what
To be
happened?
honest, I don't think I look much worse.
It looks
Then-
better.
Perfect.
You
I
definitely look
might,
colder.
I might look better. I have no idea. But there's a shot, and people were talking about this shot. He looks goofy with. Oh wait, what is this, Alan? How did we?
Why are you so tall?
I know what happened.
I did not mean to show that, folks. All right, mistake on that. But let me go to the real shot here. I do have it. There is the shot here. X. But I'm kind of concerned about this movie now. And literally the concern comes from the one shot. This isn't the shot, but we got a little couple new shots in this trailer. And by the way, the trailer played during the NFC and AFC conference championships games. I don't know if there are any NFL fans here. I watched both games. I really was not invested. Don't care. By the way, the Chefs are going to the Super Bowl for a third year in a row.
Yep.
So if you care about them.
Poor Bills.
This shot is the thing that it actually does have me concerned, because when you look at David Cornsweet here, it's the furrowed brow. He's missing kind of, I don't know. He's no Cavill. Do we have any thoughts on this?
I think it's just a bad picture, man. I think it was maybe a bad clip. I see people online. I see them on X, losing their mind, saying, "Oh, this movie's going to suck." I'm like, guys, you're getting all that from this one still. You're getting that a 3-hour movie is going to suck from this one picture. Relax. It's just a weird angle. It's
unfinished.
thing.
It's unfinished.
And it's unfinished.
Well,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
look,
it looks like he has heterochromia because the left eye is brown and the right eye is blue.
His eye is wonky is the issue, and that's not
That too.
CG. That's
Well,
his eye is really wonky in the real
Yeah,
world.
that's just him.
Yeah.
well, it's the cinematographer behind The Flash. I don't think anyone was raving about the cinematography for The Flash. And this just seems he's using a weird. There's another shot where Superman is behind some kind of glass that he breaks, and they use this super wide angle lens. His foot looks enormous. It's elongated and stretched because of this weird super wide angle. It's kind of looking cheap.
Stretched. It looks stretched.
Yes.
I mean, at least we can understand why Superman wears glasses now. They're not just for a disguise, it's to fix the lazy eye.
Course correction.
It looks weird for
Maybe.
me just because it's the same expression. Like I slowed it down and I went through it like frame by frame. It's the same expression. And I know that the clip is like really short, but there's no change in his face. So, and then I compared it to like the Man of Steel first flight scene. And like all of the scenes where, there's an up close shot, there's at least some blinking. There's at least some sort of expression that what to match like what he's doing, where he's going, what he's feeling. And with this, there's nothing. It's such a vacant expression. You don't know where he's going in this. You don't know if it's some sort of like defeatist moment where he finds it within himself to like go and save somebody. You have no idea because it's such a vacant expression. And like throughout the turn up until like it's the camera is like right there in his face. There's nothing. There's no emotion. There's nothing behind those eyes.
Well, it looks like
that's
a
more of
previs
like
model.
what I have a problem with.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a previs model that's been up-rendered and maybe isn't finished. I don't know. I'm not going to make any excuses for it. I would never have put something out like that.
I mean, let's compare Cavill and Corn Sweat. Okay, let's go. Like, here's Corn Sweat. Okay, here's Cavill. Looks. I'm sorry. I think Cavill's a better Superman that was in maybe. We'll see. It could be David Corn Sweat is less of a good Superman who's maybe in a better movie. And then, although I will defend aspects of Man of Steel, I don't know. It's very disappointing.
Chris, can you share my screen for a second?
Yes,
it's the same thing that we saw in Guardians and in Black Adam, but it's their like whatever gimbal rig they have.
Yes,
it gives you this perspective, and it's fine. The whole thing is, David's looks fine. The whole thing is he just has a wonky eye, and it's not as good as Henry Cavill. That's unfortunate. Nothing's gonna fix it in post. It's just not the Superman a lot of people wanted.
Yeah, this shouldn't have been released.
Yeah, Rob.
Look, I'm sure that shot they wanted to end the shot with him flying. I wouldn't be surprised if they put this together just for that trailer, just to have it as a button on the end. I'm always. I mean, we're 6.5 months out from the release of this film. They're going to be working on this movie up until just a few weeks before it comes out. So to me, it's to judge anything. Haven't we learned by now is that
Right.
Hey, I'm still waiting for that TIE fighter shot from Rogue One when the TIE fighter rises up. It wasn't in the film. I mean, I've always said wait till the movie's finished. Especially, look, here's the thing that I think that people, and I know nothing about this movie. I've not read the script. I don't know anything about this movie. I know this. I liked Slither, Super, 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, The Peacemaker, The Suicide Squad, and I like James Gunn's novel, The Toy Collector. He's got my vote. I mean, he hasn't let me down. His Guardians movies are wildly ambitious, and I like the second one more than a lot of people do. But I think as a trilogy, what he brought to that trilogy was pretty astonishing, and the fact that Marvel let him go in some of the directions he went in was pretty amazing. Slither is a great $3 million exploitation horror comedy, which is great. And so I trust in James Gunn. And look, I wanted to hate Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. Dawn of the Dead's one of my favorite films of all time. I couldn't believe someone remade it. I went in there wanting to hate that movie so much, and I liked it. You know what? That's pretty good. And no movie in history have I wanted to just dislike more than that Dawn of the Dead remake. And I liked it. It won me over. So I'm willing to give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt. He knows, as the head of the studio, as well as the director of this film and the writer, if this movie fails, he might never recover. The studio won't recover. He might never recover. I think the thing that people are missing about this movie is all of our Superman movies that we love, Christopher Reeve and Superman the movie, Henry Cavill and Man of Steel, which I like very much. These films are trying to take place in quote unquote the real world. They shot in New York City for Superman the movie. I think what James Gunn is doing with this movie is he's going to give us our first fantasy Superman.
We got Clayface and Dr. Phosphorus and Creature Commandos. We're getting a fantasy Superman.
We're getting, and we never got that before.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to get, and the thing about that is we don't have the context of what a $200 million feature film that's fantasy oriented. And when I say fantasy oriented, I know General Zod's fantastical. I know Doomsday is fantastical. I know the Justice League is fantastical, but they still are set in a world that's quote unquote real.
But can James Gunn do hopeful? That's I'm trying to stand this movie, and all my cohorts go, yeah, but James Gunn will make selfish choices. He'll make dumb. He'll put the.
I don't.
Guardians hear from James Gunn. Here we go.
Yeah,
Guardians is a hopeful movie. I mean,
Badger, if you would read this comment from Gunn.
Yeah, he's responding to, of course, that trailer we just saw. There's absolutely zero CG in his face. People's faces can look different when you put a wide angle lens up close. The background plate in Svalbard is 100% real, as is David. Yeah, that's where they shot where the Fortress of Solitude is.
My problem is the cinematography. If you go back and look at Donner's Superman, Rob, I know you love that
Jeff
movie
Unsworth, man.
as much as I do. And I don't like the look of this movie. I can finally, I've seen enough to say I don't like the look. Now, like you, I do trust Gunn on the storytelling side, but I think he made a bad choice of cinematographer. I was hoping for epic. It looks CW. I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry.
Again,
I don't think it looks CW.
I would say we should wait.
I'm willing to give James Gunn a little bit of grace because you're absolutely right. I do like his filmography. Like I love his body of work. So I'm willing to offer him a little bit of grace, and I'm looking forward to this movie. It's just that shot is very weird. It's such an odd shot.
Weird.
Here's the problem. It's the marketing. You're supposed to be getting us excited about your movie. And the trailer and this is moving us in the wrong direction. The fact that
normies excited.
Hold on. The fact that James Gunn has to explain the shot tells you that this is a bad move. You should just lay it out there and say that this is what it is, and not have to say, well, people's faces look weird in wide angle. So if Superman is going to succeed, it's going to be despite its marketing efforts so far.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the same with the first image they put out there with him sitting down, putting on his boots. Like it was such a strange image to be putting out. I thought that they should have put out the moving poster, the animated poster, as their first image instead of the one that they originally put out.
I mean, this shot here needed context. All we're seeing is Superman flying.
But Robert and I want to like it. You need people that don't give a shit about Superman to watch that trailer. Like with Sonic 3, I knew they were good, but I was not watching them. And I saw Sonic 3 trailer. I was like, oh, that interests me. I should watch the other ones. You need people that don't care about Superman to see the trailer go, I kind of want to watch that. And I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. And I completely agree with Rob. James Gunn hasn't really disappointed me yet. I've liked all of his movies, and also like Rob, I love the second Guardians movie. I don't know if James Gunn is completely in charge of marketing, right? Like I know he has a hand in it, but maybe someone else is picking these things to show. If I were them, I would just kind of chill on showing anything else new. Just wait till the movie comes out, or not till it comes out, but at least a month or two. Then start dropping some real trailers so that people can stop. Yeah, just so people can stop speculating and looking at a few little clips and judging the whole film based on it. Like I think we all know, including James Gunn, that this is going to be the biggest movie of the summer. It's going to be the most important movie of the year, actually, not even the summer. And a lot is riding on it. But here's the thing: I think James Gunn has been battle proven. I think that he deserves a little bit of our optimism. Like I always say, no one deserves the benefit of the doubt. I know Gary says that a lot too, especially in Hollywood. But I think Gunn, much like other directors who I love, like Tarantino, I will always give these guys the benefit of the doubt until the product comes out.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're going to get the movie and we'll know in 6.5 months.
Yep.
But I will agree. I agree that this isn't doing them favors.
No.
Like these kind of clips aren't helping.
I think it comes down to the fact that even if whether he's in charge of the marketing department as head of the studio or not, he's getting things presented to him and he is making commentary on what's being presented. And if he's being presented stuff that is subpar, he's going to pick what is the best of that subpar, because marketing is not necessarily the forte that he is supposed to be focused on with this film. He's supposed to be focused on, is the final cut the best cut it can possibly be to win over the audiences that he's trying to win over. And again, it comes down to, if marketing is saying, okay, well, this is the shot that we want to do, and this is the thing we're putting together, and because it's your shots, James, we know you're going to love them, and they're going to schmooze them over for that, and it might be mediocre for the general audience, but it might be, fit into whatever the parameters James Gunn put out there, but not enough to wow
By his own words, he's in charge. He said that DC Studios is me and Peter, and I'm the creatively demanding one.
Right. But that also goes to show the fact that, again, you can be as creatively demanding as you want, but if the people that are under you are not putting stuff forward, you either have to either take what they have or you fire them and you get someone new. We don't know what the situation is going to be with James Gunn at DC at this point, other than the fact that, he's putting out these types of shots here. I will say kind of an interesting tell of a really good movie is the fact that the trailer doesn't have great shots in it because they're saving that for the film. So we'll have to see what ends up happening during Super Bowl.
That's great marketing.
I mean, it is to the point, because what do you want? Do you want a great trailer that spoils the movie and you go inside and it's disappointing, or do you want a great trailer that's amazing?
The problem is there's people that make better trailers with less footage than this. So
but you guys,
badly edited.
Come out and say that like the trailer is only like maybe the first part of the movie. There's some shots that are like in the last half, but it's mostly the first part of the movie.
But guys,
he primarily never releases anything from the second or third act for his trailer footage.
Go watch the Superman Returns trailer. Might have been a bad movie, but even though I liked it, it's the best. It's just because the tone is entirely different. It shows barely anything. It shows less than they showed in their trailers. But it's a better trailer.
Here's the thing. First of all, none of this movie's finished. First of all, we are 6.5 months out. They wanted to get awareness out to people that aren't us. Remember, this was on did any of you guys watch the 2 football games yesterday?
I did.
What? Okay, you did. I watched a little of both of them. I wanted the Commanders to win. Too bad. But this was for an audience. Remember who this trailer was for.
Right.
This trailer was for a football audience, that the meat and potatoes movie-going audience. This was to announce to them, who, by the way, aren't aware there's a Superman movie coming out. I can guarantee you that. Most people aren't. And they showed this trailer. The people that watch this are going to be like, wow, there's a Superman movie coming out. And I bet you they didn't have a finished piece of footage of Superman flying. I bet this was quickly ginned up to put in this trailer to end the trailer on this note, so the audience realizes Superman is coming. So we're here picking this apart, but you have to take into consideration, what is the context that this TV spot was done for, or why was it made? And I think it effectively marketed the fact that this movie's coming out to the audience that they were marketing to. They weren't marketing to us. They knew that we were going to go through this, but this is the first thing that normal audiences are going to see. And you know what they saw? They saw Superman.
Yeah, you're right, Rob.
They don't know who Cavill's Superman is. They don't know who Reeves' Superman is. They don't even know the difference between who was on Titans, the Superboy, or who was, they just don't. The regular audience does not know this stuff. And they're not picking it apart.
On that note, Rob, you said Superman is coming. And my comment was, we all want to know who's edging Superman. So
clearly,
I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, but you're right, Rob. This clip looks really good when you're drunk and have your belly hanging up.
Well, there you go. I mean, you know what this is showing? Superman flying really fast over the Arctic. So that's
to Robert's point. It's the only new footage was this little button at the end of him flying and spinning, and it's fine. He should look like he's swimming and all that. It's just the wonky eye through everyone. It happens.
But that's because you're looking at a still frame.
Yeah.
And I think that do I think this shot's a great shot? Not necessarily, but it's not even in the right aspect ratio.
Suit looks good. Cape looks good.
Yeah, I mean, the movement's great. I mean, you know what's really interesting? Having been on the set of Superman Returns for the entirety of its production and having made a documentary on the making of that film, there were so often that they got Brandon Routh up on flying rigs and they were blowing in his face to get that interactivity, only to see all of Brandon's live action flying footage replaced with a CG double, which I didn't understand. I didn't think it was nearly as convincing.
Yeah.
And the footage, by the way, is very funny that we shot of all these guys, all these like green screen goblins, like moving the cape, puppeting the cape. And stuff.
I just watched Returns cape too. They had to get some assistance for that, right?
That CGI does not hold up his replacements. It's very, it's a shame they didn't have the live action footage of it. Yeah.
The only thing I'm concerned about, to be honest with you, is just the scale of this movie, right? Like Rob said, this is he needs normies to make this movie a hit. Normies have to show up to make this movie a hit. But the scale of this movie to me is a little nuts, man. And I trust Gunn. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to handle an ensemble, which is really good, especially for this movie. But the scale of it, man, is like you have a movie that you're trying to reboot again, reboot Superman, At the same time, you're bringing in, the Justice League International. Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, which are some deep pulls, by the way.
Mr. Terrific,
Ultraman, Mr. Terrific. Which to us nerds, it's great. That's great. We're getting Justice League International and Superman, but to appeal to like a broad audience, that's the thing I'm a little nervous about.
They'll
I'm
get
a little
it.
concerned about.
They just watched
We
The
haven't-
Boys.
we
So if
haven't
you
heard
watch
him say a word either.
Well, he
We
talks
haven't
about
heard-
like all the extra characters, but you got to think of them as groups. The Justice League International, they're just Maxwell Lord's corporate,
The scale of it is like, dude, he's tackling like a lot of things for this one film, and that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know like what the involvement of the JLI are going to be in this film. It might just be like a cameo. It might be like he interacts with him once, but it just seems like he's tackling a lot of things for this one movie.
Well, he's definitely dropping us into the pool of DC pretty much at the knee deep level at this point here.
Yeah.
So we're not dipping our toes as we did with previous iterations of Superman. He's saying, no, we're going to go further in. How he handles that, again, the way he did the first Guardians of the Galaxy, you get a lot of info there, but it doesn't feel like you're being force fed it.
And he is good at that. He is good at that. We got the Nova Corps. We got a lot of things in Guardians that I didn't think we were going to get. So, James Gunn is very good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just a little nervous for him. That's all.
He said Superman knows other heroes in the world and works with other heroes. Some of them he gets along with, some of them he doesn't. And yeah, I think the International is going to come up with, they're the more corporate bound. Superman's the more hopeful. They're going to come in and maybe he'll inspire them and then he'll be the actual Justice League at the end.
DA, you're just joining us. Thanks,
What's up?
And thanks for being here. Talking about the new Superman TV spot, it's made people a little skeptical.
It looks terrible.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna be very honest. That doesn't look good. But at the same time, last night I was talking about this last night on the DA's office. All we're reacting to right now are images. We don't know anything about the story. We haven't heard any dialogue being spoken. We don't know anything about this movie other than what we're seeing in imaging. And like so far, it's been meh to lackluster. But I think James Gunn is a solid enough filmmaker, and ultimately, if we're watching a 10 out of 10 Superman story play itself out on the screen, all of this stuff is just going to fall into the background. We're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the amazing story that we just got. That's what we really care about. Henry Cavill stuck the landing as far as the looks were concerned, but the story itself left a lot to be desired. So as long as we get the story right, I think we're all going to be all right at the end of the day.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we go to Supers, everyone?
What did you guys think of Lex Luthor, the new shot of Lex?
I like the Lex.
I like that.
Okay.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
He's
I
very
thought it
clearly
was
going to
good.
break into the fortress and destroy
Right,
Helix.
yeah, that's what I was
and
thinking too.
Steal
Yeah.
the
I
ability
was
to make
thinking.
a baby kaiju. But it's fine. It's fine. Get all the
Yeah.
fantastic you can. I'll get the McFarlanes.
All right, let's go to hey, we're all here. I love it. It's my favorite part of Monday to talk to everybody. Let's go to comments right here. Badger, if you would.
Lord Comet for 5. Afternoon, Chris Gore and friends. Hope your Monday is going well. Thanks for being awesome on social media. Also, what did you think of the new Superman trailer? Well,
Yes.
Take two.
Let's go around the horn here.
Double McShave for 50 Swedish krona. How many times over could they have upscaled or restored Star Trek DS9 for the budget? Budget of Section 31 movie, it would have generated more subscribers.
People have said that. It's very sad. How much would that cost, Rob, to do that?
Well, I can speak to what it was going to cost at one point, about $20 million and about 4 years of time.
That's nothing.
That's not bad.
And that's what, like, Next Generation, they say it cost. For those of you, I worked on the Next Generation restoration for Blu-ray. We created all the documentary features for the releases for that and Star Trek Enterprise at the same time. And that restoration, it's not just the money, but it's the time. Incredibly time consuming, because for those of you who don't know, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, like Next Generation and Voyager to a certain extent, they were shot on film, but they were finished on videotape. So it was crazy. So when they went back and restored Next Generation to high def, they had to go in and get all the negatives back. and they had to rebuild and take the shows all the way through post-production again. They also remixed the sound. Next Generation was only ever finished in 2-channel stereo. So they went back from scratch with all the original stems, and they rebuilt the soundtracks for every episode in 7.1 surround sound. And the real problem is, in the case of Next Generation, almost all of the space shots of the ships were shot on film as film elements. And as Deep Space Nine, there's only one shot in Deep Space Nine of Deep Space Nine as a CG element, and that's the actual final shot of the last episode of the 7th season, What You Leave Behind. But when they get to Voyager, and there's a lot of battle scenes in Deep Space Nine that are all CG, they would have to go back and find those files and reconstitute them in either HD or 4K. And it's an enormous amount of work. They had a team of about 30 people working on it 24/7 for 4 years. And the problem with that is, who wants to do that? And at the time of Next Generation, and then when they were working on Enterprise, CBS Digital had a team of devotees, man. They were believers, and they were not going to stop. They were relentless and found every piece of negative. If they didn't have the negative, it was just gone. They would go back and try and do a CG recreation as best they could. It was an incredible team of people, and they were a little short-sighted. They should have just went on into Deep Space Nine and Voyager, but they did not, unfortunately.
Do you know if CBS was happy with the results of the Next Generation upgrades?
Everybody loved it. I mean, it was truly, we had theatrical events where for the first 3 seasons we played episodes theatrically in 1,200 theaters. They loved it. What they didn't love was the sales figures. Unfortunately, that was the rise of streaming. So you could get Star Trek: The Next Generation on all these different streaming services. And when they were released season by season, if you were a Star Trek fan and you knew the difference, it was astonishing. When new finished episodes would come in, I would weep. The difference was so extreme, but most people didn't know that. And I don't think they did a very good job promoting that. So they didn't sell nearly as well as they would have hoped, but they immediately replaced all the old episodes of Next Generation that were in syndication. So, I mean, it's an astonishing, I would say, in television history, the restoration of Star Trek: The Next Generation is the most significant TV restoration in history. Others have come close. The X-Files, things like that. Anything that was, a lot of TV shows were posted from the mid-'80s to almost the 2000s on tape, which means they only existed in standard definition, 640 by 480. And that doesn't cut it in our modern age. So they've had to go back and restore a lot of TV shows now. For instance, the Seinfeld Blu-ray set that was just, or 4K set that was just released, looks tremendous because they went back. It's not blown up. They went back to the originals and did a beautiful restoration job on that. That came out just a couple weeks ago.
Was the original series restoration well accepted? I mean, they
yeah. Well, the original series was finished on film, so they had cut negative.
Right.
So they had
rebuilt all the space and everything, right?
Yeah. So what they did was, what's interesting, because all the effect shots were optically printed. So when you have the live action footage, the characters looked amazing. But when you see something that's on an optical printer, especially in the 60s, you're looking at every layer was dirty. So it just gets murkier and murkier. But they, to their credit, they had new CG footage done. But when they put out the Blu-rays, you could get the discs had both versions, so you could watch the original and you could watch the CG enhanced versions. So they gave you both. CBS, their restoration of the Twilight Zone is unbelievable. What they did with Star Trek and Enterprise was unbelievable. But Deep Space, and even the animated series, was upgraded to Blu-ray. It's only Deep Space Nine and Voyager that were not, unfortunately.
Let's get through these supers because we have several more topics.
You sure? All right. Pilgrim Media for 2. What's with these goth Christian chickies around? Oh, they're just going through a little midlife crises. The Raven,
shit, man, they're kind of hot. I'm just saying.
The Raven and the Writing Desk. I think he's talking about one specific one that just went on a tear. The Raven and the Writing Desk movie for 20 months. Yeah. Thank you. Graph Web for 2. For Christopher Reeve's sake. Hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Okay, thank you.
And a little notice for all the members. I was at Sundance this weekend. Alan and I will talk about it in a special show tomorrow just to let everyone know, Alan and I are doing a special show tomorrow to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And literally 10 minutes into the first episode, Alan's like, they break lore. I can't. So Alan's seen all of it. I'm watching it tomorrow night. Just pay attention to the channel. We've updated when we have to do a special show just because there's a lot to discuss. But I was at Sundance, and there's a lot of videos for members only where I show you how to Sundance. I had fun. So there you go.
What kind of music do you use to do that?
I didn't use any music. I just walked.
You just danced a cappella?
I just danced down Main Street, and I just exposed all the bullshit that Sundance is. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm going to save for tomorrow.
So, Alan, is Harry trans or not?
No, he's fully male.
Oh, it's a male. It is a male. Okay, because we couldn't tell, right? We couldn't tell if it was a guy or a girl, right?
You have to tune in to find out.
Man buns do that.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I'll just say 2 words: Uncle Ben. That's all I'll say.
Oh, is he black?
I already know, and I'm horrified. I'm horrified.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow. We'll talk.
All I know is Alan looks like the cat that ate the canary with what he knows over here.
This is
makes me feel
acolyte level lore breaking.
Yeah.
Pilgrim Media. He was created through a Virgins in the Force. Pilgrim Media for 2. The chroma keys are completely off. Matthian for 50. When will Script call people 8-channers? Probably he was me, by the way, not Chad. Thank you.
When they
probably
show.
not. Next show. Give it time. Lord Comet for 2. Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Flash is missing from it.
I don't think it's that kind of story.
Yeah. Zach's member for 11 months. I had zero hope that the CW would create a good Superman series, but they did, and I'm glad I gave it. Yeah, he's talking about the Superman and Lois. That was a very good show.
It was really good.
Show.
It had a great ending too.
It's a great family Superman. C Black for 199. F4 will be better than Superman. Good luck.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Pedro. Geek Truth 64 for 199. Shout out to the 199. There were a few HD shots of DS9 in the documentary.
Yep. They got footage and they made
doc.
those HD shots for the documentary.
That's a great doc, by the way.
Yep.
Matthian for 100 Norwegian krona. Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is great. The extras on the DVD are great. There is 20-minute shorts of the news coverage covering the beginning. You can look it up. Yeah, all on the TV. Really interesting. Zian Hu gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. Are they hitting? Are they working?
Thanks, Sean Hu. That's great.
Zed, member for 1 month. Film Threat is the best movie podcast on YouTube. Indeed.
Damn straight.
Indeed. GJJ, member for 2 months. Shout out.
Thank you.
Film Threat. Butter Biscuits 92 as says all the time these studios aren't owed anything. They have to convince me to spend their money. Nothing shown for Superman has. Daredevil had a better trailer regardless that it was a teaser.
I agree, man. I mean, Gary was right. I mean, these people don't deserve our optimism. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. I get that. But
is this from Rumble? What are we doing?
It looks like it's Rumble, yeah.
Rumble. Okay, sorry about that, Dante.
No, I was just saying, I get that, but there's just some directors who have been proven that I'll always give at least a fair chance to before I judge. That's all.
Yeah, let's not forget Star Wars, the sequels had a built-in audience and they squandered it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last comment here before we pivot.
Butter Biscuit 92. Gunn was screwed when he said he was cherry picking from the new 52. Hired a writer that's engaged in canceling in Tom King, and by lying several times, he's making it hard to separate. He did a bunch of things that were not ideal.
Yeah, separate the art from the artist. There
Yeah.
you go. All right, we're gonna.
I feel like James Gunn just likes everybody. He
that?
sees the good in people. I think James Gunn sees the good in people and hires them, not knowing what maybe the results are.
Also, Gunn has had some cancellation himself, being the victim of that. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's pivot to section 30.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can. What?
That's what it feels like watching. I watched section 31. It's on Paramount Plus. It is a 90-minute movie that was originally supposed to be a
pilot.
It's like a pilot for a TV show.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it plays out just like a pilot for a TV show.
Right. So
Does it?
Yeah.
I want to see for those who have for those who have seen this, your thoughts, and let me start. This is terrible. This is the worst. I tuned out. I watched the first 4 episodes of Discovery and could not watch any more of this new Paramount Star Trek. I know they're targeting a modern audience that does not exist. This does not feel like anything Star Trek. I have no sympathy for the lead character, in which we show her around a dinner with their family, murdering them so she can
Philippa
become
Giorgio.
the emperor, and then the her partner, who did not follow through on that task, is now sublimated to her. It's all a, why would I like this person? And then they do it. A lot of the action takes place in some futuristic bar, and the sets are so dark and small. There's no sense of scale.
They ripped it off from Mass
Don't forget
Effect.
that.
Let me finish. It looks like bad sets from Battle Beyond the Stars, a great script by John Sayles, and a really great score, and a fun movie, but the sets were kind of cheap. The sets reminded me of Battle Beyond the Stars. Small, dark, tiny. The action just by the numbers. Each character had one attribute. I'm beside myself with, like, I thought, why am I watching this? This owes nothing to Star Trek. There are no heroes you can get behind. The characters are very one-dimensional, and on every level it was bad. Mostly being the writing. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. And people are saying, Rob, you went off. Rob, you were on fire. This is really the end of. I don't know how anyone who was an old fan of Star Trek could defend this. I don't know how the newer fans could say they like this thing. It's so that modern ideas about things. You know what I missed more than anything? A hopeful vision of the future with a hero I can admire, because faced with the same choice, Captain James T. Kirk would not have done what Philippa did. He would have found a way around it, the no-win scenario.
A monster.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to admire about this. Okay, for those who have seen it, please, I'd like to hear you chime in, and I want to savor every comment, because this is the end of Star Trek as an IP. I don't know where you go from here. This is terrible. And by the way, the main graphic to promote the show looks like an Axel Braun Star Trek XXX parody.
Actually,
what's wrong with
looks
that?
a little closer to this other terrible sci-fi show that was short-lived called Vagrant Queen. It used purple and yellow, and horrifically in this particular series or this movie, the fact that you have young Philippa Giorgio give us a monologue describing essentially battle royale, or for the more modern audience, Hunger Games, as a trial to try and find the next emperor, instead of showing us that, is a disservice to not only storytelling but also to the audience as well. And in addition, they are so desperate in this show to have some Easter eggs that they end up aging up a really great character who was in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called Yesterday's Enterprise, Rachel Garrett, from a 44-year-old in the middle of the 23rd century to now a 110-year-old, because she is now 30 years old in the 2260s. And it just doesn't reconcile. It doesn't work. This is a really terrible, terrible show. And it's also a great disservice to a lot of the people that are actors in this, especially Michelle Yeoh, who I happen to know firsthand is a big science fiction fan. But I don't know why she was able to tolerate this unless they paid her one heck of a pretty penny, because she was holding out for a long time. And the only reason this went into production in this shape that it was is because she recently won an Academy Award. And it's tragic. The story doesn't make much sense. There's no drama to it. It's definitely missing the hopeful aspect of it as well. It perverts the idea of Section 31, which was also further enabled by Discovery, making it an actual institution, as opposed to what I liked it before, is it's a lone rogue agent who may or may not be associated with anything. We don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a mystery behind that. And in here, they're like, nope, we're going to try and Mission Impossible this. But no one who has worked on this show has ever actually seen or understood what a real Mission Impossible or Ocean's 11 type of story is. So we're just going to make it based on the vague understanding we have from seeing like trailers or clips on YouTube or reading a Wikipedia or something. I mean, what is the point of this story? What's it all
There's
about?
a goddamn neurodivergent Romulan with a fucking Ant-Man bug that has a Scottish accent. There's a Venom. Literally, Venom is one of the characters. An abomination on every level. That's not how the Terran Empire works. They don't understand anything. Every character was a DEI parody. It literally makes Acolyte look good and J.J. Abrams faithful to Star Trek. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Yes, Ellen. Yes, it does.
No, you're
It's
wrong.
fucking
You're
horrible.
You're 100% wrong. You wanna set it up?
I would watch Acolyte every day.
I would no.
So,
Acolyte is so
it-
much more worse than this.
I'll throw this out really quick, and Rob will appreciate this, and all the Star Trek fans listening will appreciate this. So it's kind of fascinating that they use the character of Rachel Garrett in this, because much like the episode of yesterday's Enterprise, they didn't know what episode that was going to be, because it was a very much cut and paste, trying to put together a very last minute type of production, much like Section 31. Only the difference being is that you have actually well-read, vetted writers working on a show and knowing how to put together a show, writing yesterday's Enterprise. And I don't know what the heck you had for Section 31.
Star Trek is worse.
But they
Skeleton
had
Crew was
all
more like
the
Star
love.
One of
Wars.
the differences, Section
Every-
31
all the
had
love that
20
they
times
actually-
the budget.
Yeah, I'll defend this show for a second. It's okay. First of all, it's a bad show. It's a horrible show, bad writing and stuff. But I said in my review that this is the most enjoyable Star Trek of current Star Trek, excluding Picard season 3. I started watching Discovery. I stopped because it wasn't Star Trek. This thing has nothing to do with Star Trek, and that's why I found it more enjoyable. I likened it to the bad sci-fi and Ocean's 11 type shows from the 80s and 90s. I kept referring back to Las Vegas, starring James Caan. That's the kind of vibe and feel I got.
What a
and I'm
fucking
actually
insult to
enjoying
that
it.
show.
But for me, hold on. For me to say that I enjoyed, Strange New World or Discovery or any of the current new Star Trek better than this, would be a false statement. And believe me, this is a backhanded compliment. The best backhanded compliment I can give to Section 31. I would much rather watch this than any other current Star Trek at the moment.
Okay.
And no, I don't know why people are loving the Acolyte all of a sudden.
No, we're not. We're hating this. By the way, Las Vegas with James Caan was a great show. I don't know why you would throw that under the bus. This is just
Well,
all the way.
It was wonky along the way. Let's just put it that way. The
Wonky?
reason
Superman's
Las Vegas
Eye was
worked was
wonky.
because the cast was super hot.
So is this
Robert?
the Acolyte of Star Trek? Like, is this going to put the final fork in this thing?
I
No,
don't
that
think
would
this
be
ruined
Starfleet
Star
Academy.
Trek like the Acolyte did. I mean, the Acolyte turned Yoda into a creepy creeper. The Acolyte put a negative light on the Jedi. Section 31 is a entity of itself when it comes to Star Trek.
Okay. So this doesn't do the brand damage that Acolyte just did.
And yes, led by Asians. Sorry. Go ahead.
Rob, go.
The thing is, I have so many thoughts about this. First of all, what you have, I think, I have to go back. And what we have in the modern age is we have these IPs that can be very lucrative for the creators that come in to work on them. So with Star Trek, you had Bad Robot come in and make Star Trek 09, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond. And Bad Robot was interested in those from a business perspective. They thought, okay, we can work in these great IPs and we're going to make a lot of money. The problem is all three of those Star Trek movies underperformed. People are always saying to me, well, Star Trek 09 was a success. No, it really wasn't. It didn't even make $500 million, and it cost over $250 to make and market. It was not a success. Into Darkness was less of a success, and Star Trek Beyond was less of a success. And then Bad Robot was not allowed to have all the merchandising rights, and if they did, they wouldn't have made any money because nobody wanted the merchandise from the new movies. They tried to do a video game. It didn't turn out very well, and they cut ties with the video game company. Then J.J. Abrams and crew go over to do Star Wars, and that becomes a Bad Robot production. And that's why, C-3PO has a red arm and the Millennium Falcon has a square dish, a rectangular dish, because everybody wanted their taste. When Secret Hideout and Alex Kurtzman, remember Alex Kurtzman co-wrote Star Trek 09 and Star Trek Into Darkness, so he was already tied to the Star Trek franchise. It seemed from Paramount's perspective, bring this guy in who knows. This was after Brian Fuller was deposed and thrown off Discovery. But by the way, Brian Fuller and Nicholas Meyer, who wrote and directed Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 6 and wrote the story for Star Trek 4, he was dumped as well. He wrote a Khan miniseries that's never going to happen, which is actually pretty good. So you have people, first of all, that are working on these IPs, especially the Bad Robot Secret Hideout crowd, that don't like these IPs. They've taken them over to make money. That's their only purpose. And then they hire a bunch of writers. I mean, you would think Star Trek is going to be 59 years old this year. And you would think from a corporate standpoint that anybody you hire to work on these shows better know the show, which requires a working knowledge of 59 years of not just shows and movies, but ancillary products. People made a point today on a show I was on earlier. The Star Wars video games are more interested in preserving the lore and being more interesting in delving into, say, the Sith than any of these modern shows are. Why give Leslie Headland a Star Wars show? What is her credentials? What does she know about Star Wars? Doesn't matter. She did Russian Doll. Let's let her make a show. This show is the final. What this show says to me is they've finally decided that we can allow people that have never watched Star Trek. Like this show, first of all, Philippa Georgiou's from the Mirror Universe. The Mirror Universe was introduced in the second season, original series episode, Mirror Mirror, written by Jerome Bixby. The way they've treated the Mirror Universe since the second season or the first season of Discovery, they clearly never watched the original episode Mirror Mirror. And at the end of the episode, I'll make this point. At the end of the episode, Spock makes the point when our characters come back from the Mirror Universe. Gentlemen, it was much easier for you as civilized men to behave like barbarians than it was for barbarians to behave as civilized men. Now, any great writer would have said, there's the kernel of an idea. How does someone from the Mirror Universe come to our universe, which is what Empress Georgiou did, and make her way and make it credible? There's nothing about the way they've portrayed this character. It's a cartoon interpretation. It is an elementary school idea of what a character from the Mirror Universe would be like most of Star Trek. We are watching episodes that are written and directed by elementary school children.
She's taken from Mass Effect 2, by the way. She's Arya and Club Omega. They took this whole thing where she's just boss bitch sitting there man-spreading, and they come to her and get it. That's why she's a facsimile.
100%. And then clearly, when they decided to make Section 31, they decided it's the CIA. It was never the CIA. They never went back and watched the episodes that Section 31 was introduced in. There's only 4 episodes you really have to watch in Deep Space Nine. You get the whole thing. Clearly, no one's ever watched that because they gave Section 31 membership cards and special uniforms and a headquarters and spaceships. And when you watch this stuff, you realize these people are not doing the work required to work within this IP.
Yes.
They're not doing, and that's the thing that kills me the most. They're not doing their own homework. So, and they're not science fiction fans. They don't have any background in creating world-built universes that audiences can believe in. Look, our fantasy universes require great fantasists like Tolkien to write them. I mean, how long did Tolkien spend developing Middle-earth before he put pen to paper? And once he wrote The Hobbit, how long did he spend fleshing out all of this stuff to make his universe believable? These assholes that make Star Trek now don't know fuck all about any of this IP, which is ridiculous because it's probably the most documented IP. If you want to get there's an encyclopedia you can get. You can get star charts for this. You can get anything you want to tell you how you should. You also have the original writer's guides that the creator of the show wrote. Gene Roddenberry's writer's guide for the original series or Next Generation. You can go get them online right now. You can find out what the original creator expected of his show. Do these idiots look at that? No. Do they care to look at it? They do not. This is an embarrassment of the First Order. And you know what this says to me? It says that the corporate minders of these fuckheads don't even care about the value of their own IP, because all they've done since 2017 is devalue the franchise over and over and over and over again. Where is their audience? Where are the great, where's all the products of all the characters that are beloved from their new shows? You know what? X06 that makes their museum quality 6-scale figures. Do you know the characters that didn't sell? Saru and Michael Burnham. And it wasn't a racial issue. It was because no one gives a fuck. And they keep making this stuff. Why? Because Secret Hideout wants to hold on to that contract to get paid lots of money to make substandard product. So Paramount gets more Star Trek that they think from a corporate perspective allows the franchise to be worth more, because instead of 5 shows, now we have 10 shows, because they don't know the difference between good and bad. It's just Star Trek. And if you're trying to sell a studio to another buyer, well, we've got 10 shows now, so it ups the value of Star Trek. That's what they think, even though it doesn't, because they'll quickly find out that no one cares about these new shows. They're not going to survive in syndication the way people still watch the original Star Trek, and it was made in 1966. Nobody gives a fuck about Star Trek Discovery, and it went off the air last year.
Everyone.
Everything's so erect right now.
Everything
I can listen
wrong.
to this all day.
Everything wrong with the United States of America, and I mean this without hyperbole, is encompassed in the ideas that made this show get made in the first place. Section 31 is everything wrong with America laid bare in one metaphoric idea, and that is this show. I'm telling you, we must demand better.
I'm proud to be an American.
God dang. Rob. Nice.
How's that?
Very well
RMB,
done.
ladies and gentlemen.
Happy birthday, Robert. That was a great rant.
And by the way, you know, I said on Twitter, I was very mean on Twitter, and I wasn't mean enough yesterday.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
No, you weren't.
One thing is,
No, look, Rob is right, man. There's a certain authenticity to every franchise that needs to be honored, because think about this. These worlds, the world building that's been done, it's been around for decades. You know, these people that the original
more than half
creators
century in terms of Star Trek.
They've created these worlds, they've built these worlds, and fans have lived in these worlds for decades. And it's almost like, imagine if some alien came around and created an Earth 2, but never lived on Earth, never visited Earth, doesn't know anything about Earth, and tried to take you as an Earthling and drop you off and say, here's Earth. It's like, no, it's not. This doesn't feel anything like what we have lived with for our entire lives. It's phony. It's fake. It doesn't really resonate with us. This is bullshit. That's exactly what Rob is saying. They need to pay some, there's some authenticity to fan bases. Every single fan base there's an authentic part about that fan base that fans will recognize immediately or will reject immediately if you don't get it right. And that's the problem, that they haven't taken the time to listen to the fans. Listen to what we've been telling you this entire time. Find what works for this audience and do that. You know, that's why you just got to hire fans, because it's too much. You talk about 50 plus years of research and reading and watching. It's too much. Find fans that have loved this stuff since they were kids and hand it over to them. Let them do the writing. The directors you can find the directors to direct the material, but you got to get the fandom right. And they just haven't done that. And they've just rejected us and ignored us this entire time. So, Rob, you nailed it, bro.
Well,
My only
one
issue with what Rob said is that what you said doesn't apply specifically to Section 31. To me, it applies to all of new Star Trek or current day Star Trek.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
Well,
and
here's
It
so
another
also
problem
applies
too,
to
is
Star
that John-
Wars or
to
Doctor
Derek's
Who.
point,
for a bigger
the
problem.
question I have for you, Derek, is what of the fandom, which fans are the ones that are anointed that responsibility? Because that's going to be a really hard thing to do, because the fandom is very vast and large. And don't get me wrong, I have met a couple of people that have worked on Star Trek Discovery in the writer's room for a very short time. They are fans. They just don't love it to the level of degree of someone like Robert or some of the people that worked on the shows previously. There might be one tier, and I'm being charitable by this, above a normie of a fan. Like just one tier. They grew up watching Star Trek, but they never read any of the books. They didn't go into any of the films, but they just loved to binge the original show. That's as far as they went to go. The other aspect too, and this is a behavior that just doesn't extend to Star Trek, it's across the board with most hour-long dramas, is these writing teams are just writing to make their day as opposed to telling a great story. Like they're literally using the whole, oh crap, we've lost a location. What are we going to do? Well, we'll just slap something together and shoot over here in this corner and we'll just make our day. And they're now writing with that level of understanding. At the point, they're not taking the time in the writer's room either because they don't have it or because they don't care.
But I also want to say, I was actually hired by Viacom and CBS as a Star Trek consultant in the 90s. I was actually hired. They weren't making, it wasn't for the shows, it was for ancillary products. But here's the thing. Nicholas Meyer didn't know anything about Star Trek when he made Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. He was a classically educated guy. He'd been a novelist. He'd made a movie called Time After Time, which is a wonderfully literate science fiction film that stars Malcolm McDowell and David Warner about H.G. Wells chasing Jack the Ripper through time. But because he was a classically educated man of letters, he was able to look at Star Trek as a concept, and he understood that a lot of it came from the Horatio Hornblower novels, and he understood it. And so he comes in, he watches Star Trek, and he's like, okay, I get it now. And they were able to do a sequel to Space Seed, the first season episode where Khan was introduced. But he was able to make a classical nautical adventure that had more in common with Moby Dick necessarily than it did with Star Trek. But he understood how the characters worked because he was classically educated. And you don't necessarily have to know everything about Star Trek, but what you do have to know about is classical storytelling.
Yep.
That comes from all of our stories that we get have a basis in classical literature. The Western canon begins with the Bible. And I don't mean you have to necessarily be a believer, but look, one of my favorite stories is the story of Job. I'd love to make a movie about Job, a modern retelling or something like that. But if you understanding Hamlet, understanding Beowulf or Gilgamesh or some of the great, understand Mark Twain, there's all of these things you have to understand. You can't have just watched Buffy and Angel your whole life and expect to write great science fiction. If you haven't read great science fiction, you can't write great science fiction. And if you haven't seen the Deep Space Nine episodes of Section 31, you can't write a fucking Section 31 movie. And that is the problem with these franchises. Leslie Headland has not spent a lot of time thinking about the Sith. She hasn't read any books. She didn't know who Darth Malgus was or Revan or Asajj Ventress.
You think she was lying?
Yes.
She likes all the Star Wars.
I mean, and this is the problem that we have. All of these IPs are being worked on by people that don't know about them and haven't done the work in order to be. They didn't do what Nicholas Meyer did or what Eric Jedrinson did when he wrote Star Trek: The Beginning, that they should have made into a movie. All these people are fraudulent creators, as Scripty will tell you.
Yes.
They're liars and they're incompetent and they don't know what they're doing and they get jobs because they're generic writers. Well, generic writers
who know the right people. And the sad point is, like, no, don't get me wrong, Derek, I agree with you with regards to you need fan involvement. But the fact of the matter is you have a corporation at the top that would be making the decision with regards to what fans they would recruit to work on their shows. So the question I'd have you is, it's not enough to say get fans involved. You have to figure out what's the metric, what's the bar. Is there a test they have to pass? Because that is basically what they should be doing with general writers anyways. They should be saying, oh, you're a writer. Have you read some of the great classics?
They have to know what the Kobayashi Maru is. If they don't know what that is, I don't want them writing Star Trek.
Well, that's I know a lot of people know the Kobayashi Maru. They couldn't write to save their life. But to a point, if you're a writer and you want a writing job, you should at least put in the effort with regards to, well, what is Star Trek about? What does it run parallel to? What other stories are like Star Trek, but not? Hey, have you ever seen Have Gun Will Travel? That's a really good movie. TV series that has a lot of stuff that actually falls in line with Star Trek. Because there's morality going on there.
Also, Gene Roddenberry worked on it.
Exactly.
I feel like this. If you're stepping into a franchise that's over 50 plus years old and it's Star Trek, you should have a working knowledge of why this franchise has worked, what makes it tick, why do the fans like it as opposed to some other generic sci-fi franchise. Like, why is Star Trek Star Trek? You should have the meat and potatoes, the heart of the stories, the heart of the characters. You should know something about that. Maybe you're a different type of fan. Maybe you're an TNG fan versus an original fan. Okay, fine, I get it. But at the same time, you still should know the heart of the franchise and what makes this franchise tick. I know there's Star Wars fans. I always go back to Star Wars.
Mhm.
There are people that love the original trilogy but can't stand the prequels. But they're all still Star Wars fans, and there's something about Star Wars that spoke to them in those various generations. And I feel like you should at least understand that, even if you're not like you can quote chapter and verse of every single aspect of the Star Wars franchise. You should at least have something deep inside you that says, I understand this franchise. I understand why it works. I understand why it's not like, Battlestar Galactica, or why it's not like Stargate. Like I can tell you what makes this franchise and the fans of this franchise love this franchise for as long as it's been loved, because that's what's missing, the love and the heart of the franchise, to the point where people will come back to this again and again and again, regardless of the storytellers. There's a core piece of this franchise that they understand. And I think that's what's missing. A lot of these cats that are writing, they just are writing, something that's just for whatever their opinion of
job
Star
for
Wars
them.
Trek is.
It's a basic job for
And
them.
it's just a job.
and-
Yeah, it's just
and
like
they're
literally
learning
a
what
job.
the
Yeah.
basic standard operating procedure is. When you are a writer, when you are an auteur, a director, an actor, you are supposed to put in effort with regards to mastering the work you are working on. And where is that with the secret robot, secret hideout bad robot garbage? It's not there. Again, if you work into something that is outside of your fandom, but you fall in love with it and you like working on it, such like as Myers did with Star Trek 2. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out right now. Nicholas Myers with Star Trek 2. He didn't like Star Trek before, but he fell in love with it. He's a devout fan of classic Star Trek and the Roger. Oh God, my brain is off today. I'm sorry, guys. But he was a fan of it, and he continued to write stuff for it. Like, again, to Robert's point, there is a Khan miniseries of scripts out there that will never see the light of day that are fantastic. And again, if you were to go look at Nicholas Myers and say in 1979, hey man, you know that you'll probably have a lot of fun writing Star Trek, he'd probably scoff at you at the idea at first because he never heard of it. But he got the job, he did the research, he fell in love with it, understanding what it was, and he went from there. Same with Ira Stephen Bear, same with Michael Piller, same with everybody else that worked on the Next Generation, like that 18-year epic of Star Trek television. Everybody that got involved with it ended up falling more in love with what it was because they figured out what it was, appreciated it for what it was, and went with it. You will never find anyone authentically able to repeat any of those types of ideas or passion in Star Trek since 2009 to now.
Real quick on Rotten Tomatoes, audiences and critics alike agree. Section 31 is shit. Okay, so 22% from critics, 17% audience. That is rare. Not only that it lines up, but that it's so bad.
Yeah.
Let me look up Picard season 3. Alan,
Yeah, I'll just say that
Alan?
television critics on Rotten Tomatoes generally like television. They generally give it the benefit of the doubt, and to see Section 31 go down like this tells you a lot about it.
Well, another thing too, this was done. The reason they made this was so, I would assume, I don't know this for a fact, but that Secret Hideout owed them a show. This show was under development for a long time. They were going to make a series out of it. They wanted to build it around Michelle Yeoh, when she had won her Academy Award. That probably
Can you share my screen, Chris?
Untenable.
Sure.
And they had to make this, and this is what they ended up giving us, so they could hold on to the business aspects of this franchise, because they have more episodes of Strange New Worlds coming out, and they have
that shot of her manspreading and just sitting in her club where people come. That's Arya Talope, played by Carrie-Anne Moss in Mass Effect. This is who they basically copied for her character. She's not even consistent with the Philippa Giorgio and her arc, because I did watch the second season of Discovery. It's not even the same character. They've just turned her into this character from Mass Effect.
Well, Star Trek Picard season 1 was totally a ripoff of Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah,
and that's
the Reapers at the end there. Yeah.
And now, Star Trek has always it's always aped other things. Like they've done submarine episodes. They're allegorical episodes. So they've gone back and they've done things like something else. But they've always added their own spin to these things. Nowadays, I mean, Strange New Worlds ripped off an Ursula K. Le Guin story, flat out ripped it off without accreditation in the credits. But Alex Kurtzman will go on an interview and say, yeah, we were really heavily influenced by Ursula K. Le Guin, who's one of the great female science fiction writers of all time. They just stole stuff from her. The whole tardigrade thing about the in the first season of Discovery, a guy said, you stole my idea from a game with the tardigrade. If that was a whole lawsuit that happened, there was a tardigrade in the original version of the script of the original. He was like the Chewbacca character. Ephraim was his name. But when they didn't want to do that because it was too expensive, they did rip off that game. They were able to prove they couldn't, that Paramount defended their case and they were able to get out of it, CBS. But they stole it. These writers are just stealing from stuff because they don't have ideas of their own. And we can see it over and over and over again in modern Star Trek. It's embarrassingly bad. Embarrassingly bad. And they should be called out on it because they've put CBS and Paramount, they've made them liable to have to pay reparations.
Star Trek Picard, conversely, on Rotten Tomatoes, 97% critic score, 89% audience score. That's noticeable. Neurotic says, hey, Neurotic, I guess he's gay and sick. Wait, what was that comment? Went away. I was going to read it.
Someone called him gay earlier, and he made a joke saying,
They used stock footage in Picard season 1.
Yeah, from Pond 5.
Oh my God. Anyways, we'll get better, Nerdrotic. Don't you're going to Florida, I think. What is it, next weekend? So you better get better. Final thoughts on this, because we have a lot of comments here from people. But I don't know, where do you go after all of that? Where do you go after Section 31?
out of business, hopefully.
Out of business.
Well,
They should have gone out of business after Enterprise.
They have 2
Alan,
seasons of Strange New Worlds and 2 seasons of Starfleet Academy coming.
2 seasons of the Academy?
Yeah.
It already got greenlit to the second one?
Yes, it did.
It's the Harry
They
Potter of
advanced
Star
green light
Trek.
for budget reasons. They can actually amortize over a longer period with the 2 seasons and then readjust afterwards. It's a new model that's going around, really just to give showrunners a lot more cash up front than the old days of, hey, let's take a look at the ratings and see if maybe they deserve another season or not.
Is Kurtzman out in July? Is it true that his thing is up in July? I'm not trying to Kathleen Kennedy it, but like this, how can he keep his job after this?
Because they have 2 shows in production.
Yep.
I mean, the Starfleet Academy, that's what they want to do, is they want to keep things going. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the Skydance merger. If that's all going to go down, it still has to go through regulatory scrutiny or this new bidder that came out of the blue. But they have 4 more seasons of Star Trek to deliver, with God knows how much money that turns out to be.
Wow.
Well,
4 more seasons.
And filming where? Because they lost their CBS studios?
They're
There's
shooting
a
they're
CBS
both in
Studios.
Canada.
Yeah, there's a CBS Studios in Mississauga that they're using, and they are still apparently renting parts of Pinewood in Toronto off of Commissioner Road.
And the Starfleet Academy set is apparently one of the largest sets ever built for a television show. So
let's go to comments here. I want to read this one. Jeffro Maddox says, this looks gayer than AIDS. He's a member for 13 months.
Brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal.
Pilgrim Media for 2. Script and Tom could be the next Siskel and Ebert.
There you go.
Lord Comet for 2. Remove the Star Trek title, and this could be porn.
Yes, Axel Braun, which Rob has told me about many times. I should watch his films. There's actual production value.
Yeah, they're of higher
Axel
quality.
Braun porn parodies.
Axel Braun's Star Trek would be better than.
That's what every guy wants in his porn, right? A little production value,
production value,
a little editing, a little cinematography, and all
Helps
that.
with the immersion.
Right? Yeah.
But their costume budget, not so much.
But believable characters, right? These are things we want in porn.
Alan, unironically, their costumes are sometimes more movie accurate than the actual movies. Mathian,
This is true.
50. I heard from a friend. I would never watch that smut. The pose in Section 31 movie poster looks so strange. No man even sits like that to relax his family jewels. It is aggressive man spreading. Yes.
It really is, yeah.
By the way, she has her foot on a guy kneeling in front of her.
Oh, that
As
makes
you
sense.
do.
It's very
it's like a,
dominatrix.
it's like a fetish movie or something.
Yeah.
Ace Hanlon, member for 1 month. Star Trek is a shadow of itself and one of my favorite franchises. I don't know how they come back from this. Kurtzman should be fired and everyone else.
Agree.
Lord Comment for 5. Michelle is one of the best martial artists in the world. They are doing
Is she,
her a
though?
disservice by, when she was younger, a disservice by being in this. She better have been paid crazy good. Yeah, she did not look like the best martial artist in the world, even if she once was the only person Jackie Chan would work with, the only woman he would work with.
She was paid $12 million. Isn't that right?
For this?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Dang.
Tony Reyes for $9.99. I recently rewatched Picard season 3, and the finale sets up potential spinoffs. Do you all think it could happen or will happen?
No.
No,
We wanted to.
It won't, because they're not going to do it. It's very sad.
They won't rehire the showrunner of Picard season 3.
Who's over there
He's
doing
moved
White
on. He's
Vision
moved on.
and yeah. Phrasing. The Dead Man for 5. Pit Starfleet against Section 31. Have refugees from the Terran universe, and Section 31 is trying to stop them, and Starfleet tries to stop Section. But ultimately, Section 31 does still work in the best interest of Starfleet. They're just. It's fine. It's fine. Must be frustrating, huh, Robert? When people don't understand basic things. Israel R. Israel R for 10. Hello, guys. I love your passion for Star Trek and the discussion. It's so disrespectful how the Star Trek IP has been treated, considering it's part of pop culture sci-fi Americana. God bless. Wait for the lock room.
Yeah, well, we're losing our identity, as American. We've talked about it on the show. American cinema is effectively dead. So all the great franchises are dying with it. Let's move on to another institution that is dying. Wait, why am I not on camera? Sorry about that. Another institution that is dying, the Oscars. The nominations were announced, and we can go through them. But in particular, there's a little controversy about one category, and people are even having a difficult time talking about it. Well, we're just going to go through the noms first. Here's the full list right here from Variety. And I've got some by the numbers. I'll get to that in a second. You heard what the top 10, there's 10 Best Picture nominees. Doesn't make sense. I still hate that, whatever. But the 10 Best Picture nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia, Pérez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. And the best of us have seen half of those. I've seen all of those movies. So make of that what you will. Alan and I collectively see a lot of film.
I've not seen the foreign one. That's the only one.
Yeah. But let's go by the numbers. Okay. Let's go by the numbers, which will give you some perspective here on what it means. I don't know if you can see this. I'll zoom in. It lists all the nominated movies, how many nominations, and their budgets, just to give a little perspective. Or is that budgets, or is that?
I think that's their take, right?
Might be. Sorry, box office take. Yeah. My apologies. So let's go through this here. Anora has 6 nominations, A Complete Unknown 8, Conclave 8, Emilia, Pérez, the 3 movies that got the most noms. The Brutalist, 10 Oscar nominations, Wicked, 10. Emilia, Pérez has 13 Oscar nominations. The box office is NA. For perspective, The Godfather only had 11 Oscar nominations. So Emilia Pérez, by that count, is better than The Godfather, which I would say is one of the best American films ever made. We can look at these numbers. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your takeaways. I have other articles to look at. Emilia Pérez being the most controversial. It's a Netflix movie. Almost no one has seen it. And the people that have seen it, Steph, do you have a link to the vaginoplasty song.
Oh,
I
the
think-
vagina.
No, don't play
mean,
music on this.
I
one.
could I could sing it because we all know the words, but I know
We
you
do?
we know the
Yeah,
words.
we sing it on the way home from church every Sunday.
But I know that clip you shared it somewhere else. I was watching.
Yeah, I put it in the private chat.
Okay, thanks. We'll get to that. Thoughts off the top of your heads, and the question I have to ask. I mean, clearly the Oscars are out of touch, but do they even matter now? Do they
No.
even matter?
They don't matter,
Carl-
but you know what? Let's address the first part first. Why? How did this happen? Why did it happen? Easy. There's two genders. That's why this happened,
Mhm.
right? This is all an FU to Trump. All of this is an FU to Trump. This has nothing to do with the movie, right? Trump declared there's only two sexes, two genders, and this is going to be the whole point of the Oscars this year.
Yep.
Every segment is going to be about why gender matters, why gender ideology matters. That's what this whole thing is going to be about.
And by the way,
Right.
I will speculate a little further. Emilia Pérez would not have done as well if Trump were not elected.
I agree.
No,
His
I think it's been
election
leading to this
affect-
since 2016. It's been leading to this since 2016. This is peak wokeness right now. It started with Oscars so white, and then we need more diversity. People were, and then like even more and more diversity. This is where it's been leading to since 2016, and now we're here with Emilia Pérez up there with all of these Oscar noms, same as like Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Like it's up there with those movies.
Right.
It's been leading here since 2016. Like this is where Hollywood has gone. This is where it's
See,
been headed.
This is where the disconnect is, though. The studios are happy Trump won. The Hollywood itself, the actors, all of that are seething, right? They're not going to just let this happen. The studios, on the other hand, are jumping up and down that Trump won. They're happy because that means they can start making money again.
Mm-hmm.
The actors, on the other hand, like the virtue signalers, no, they're not going to let this slide. So the Oscars, every segment is going to be about gender.
Yeah, let me defend Emilia Pérez for a second. Its star Carla Sofia Gascon, she possesses something that her co-nominees do not possess, and that makes her special in that category.
Set of balls.
Yeah.
What exactly, Alan?
You got to do it when I tell the joke and not after the joke.
Section 31, Emilia Pérez. You're getting close. We're worried about you.
Well, this is from My Nerdy Home. Steph, follow her on X. If you have not seen this is a 1-minute clip of a musical sequence. And I just want you, if you've not seen the movie, this will give you a little taste.
And by the way, the captions are there so we can karaoke this. So let's all
so
do
if anyone wants to chime in.
How happy Alan is at the suffering.
I know.
13 nominations.
13.
For a
Yeah,
quote
my
unquote
problem is
spoken
the
word
numbers,
music.
Brian.
So
13 nominations.
I'm just very curious. When they go, the big moment of the Oscars will be the presentation of this award, because the person who plays Emilia Pérez in the movie, who was born a man, may win Best Actress.
Good
And
for him.
how would the other 4 women react to this? This is a real conversation. We spent the last few years, talking about this. There was a case of women in sports. I think common sense has prevailed. Will common sense come to Hollywood?
Absolutely not.
And it doesn't mean
Steph literally just did.
Let me be clear. One last thing. It doesn't mean a trans person cannot win an Oscar or be nominated for an Oscar.
When he wins, those 4 women are going to lead a standing ovation.
Yep.
Yes,
that's what they're going to do. They're going to
Yep,
lead
they're
a
gonna
standing
clap like
ovation.
They are
seals.
clap and cheer like crazy. All right. She just said it. They've been leading up to this since 2016 or whenever. They have been building to this moment. So yeah, she's going to win. He, she, whatever is going to win. and everybody's going to stand up and cheer, and it's going to be an amazing moment. It's going to be tears everywhere, and they have finally legitimized this entire movement in their eyes. All right, nobody's going to watch this Oscars, by the way. Everybody's going to tune out. Nobody's checking for it, but there will be mad applause in that in the Dolby Theater when this happens. Best believe that.
The thing that really sucks about it though is Demi Moore this was her year, man. Like
Oh,
she
man, she
really
deserves it.
deserved to
Yeah.
get this award, man. And
Yep.
she has to lose it to a guy. You know,
This is a great article, by the way, Chris.
Yeah, this is a great article.
We'll get to this in a second, but I want to continue the conversation because I want to hear what everyone thinks of this. It affects. I've been watching the Oscars since I was a kid.
Me too.
I like that, the Super Bowl, presidential debates. There's certain things that are important to the culture. Never miss them. So, I mean, I remember watching the Oscars just to see a clip from Logan's Run because seriously, there wasn't.
And it won the Oscar for best special effects.
Yes, even though the effects they're a little dated, but I don't care. There's some great stuff in it too. The carousel thing was awesome. But how will this Hollywood, I feel like, is being pushed even further left after this election when they could
And it's
have
going to
just
push the Oscars into more irrelevancy. Like, it's not that it wasn't already irrelevant, but now this is just going to make it worse. Like, if you put that chart back up, Chris, there's a lot of movies. Like, if you look at the budgets, that one chart that had everybody's list.
I got the number.
There's only like a couple of popular movies that have even charted, this year that are getting Oscar nominations. That's Dune Part 2 and Wicked. Everything else most people haven't heard of. So you're already working against yourself when it comes to, the nominations. And that's fine. Nominate who you're going to nominate. But most people haven't heard of these movies. Most people won't go and watch these movies. So your general audience is already checking out from the Oscars anyway. On top of the fact that now you're about to make it about, transgender movement. It's just this is exactly what the Oscars didn't need. Is 13 Oscar nominations for an absolutely wretched movie that nobody likes, and only because of the ideology that's behind it. That's the only reason.
Who watched it?
Fundamentally, Emilia Pérez is a bad movie. And it's not just the subject matter; it's the music, it's the lyrics, it's the acting.
But no, that's my point.
Let's
They
play the clip
nominated
again.
a bad movie strictly for the purposes of ideology. And now, look, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, people are starting to go and look at this movie because it did get nominated 13 times. A lot of cats are probably like, dang, was I sleeping on Emilia Pérez? Let me go and watch this. It's on Netflix, right? And they go over to Netflix and they watch it and they're like, holy shit, this is a god-awful movie. What the hell were they thinking? And so now it's making the Oscars look even more illegitimate because they had nominated this thing 13 times for ideological purposes. It's stupid. But this is what they did.
Sorry, I just thought
I didn't hear that. What was that?
Let's hear it again. Spare you. We're good. We're good. It concerns me because and look at this, Latino Slant Polly, our friend, trans film critics have condemned the film as well as many Mexican actors and podcasters. I have that article from Teen Vogue. We'll get to that momentarily. But
yeah, it didn't get. I don't think GLAAD nominated it for anything. It didn't get a single GLAAD award during the GLAAD nominations. GLAAD,
right?
All right, the Gay Lesbian Alliance or whatever, they didn't even nominate it for anything. They hate this movie. Everybody hates this
Hollywood
movie.
needs to show people, look how woke we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at this. Why is Emilia Pérez hated in Mexico but Oscar nominated in the U.S.? Good question by Noel Sabayos.
By the way, it's a French film, isn't it?
It's a French film. It's English and Spanish. With subtitles. And the story is, I describe it as Mrs. Doubtfire with a drug cartel person. And what's weird is this person goes from being a hardened drug dealer, head of the cartel, one of the cartels, that becomes a virtuous, good, saintly person trying to make up for the sins of the past as a trans person.
Of course.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll get into
so they've culturally appropriated cartels, Mexico, Catholicism, all of those things.
Apparently there's a Mexican parody of it in French. Someone is trying to do a parody of a sketch in French. But yeah, it's like Mrs. Doubtfire meets Narcos Mexico. Says, how's your father? I mean, it's one of those. By the way, to be clear, I went to the premiere at the DGA during the French American Film Festival. And I was like, what the fuck is this movie? It's like there's like hardened action, weird random musical numbers. It was like it's one of those that I would put in the category of I can't believe this movie got made.
A lot of that going around.
Yeah. Has anyone else here seen it?
No, because it's on Netflix, so that's one reason not to see it. The other part too, I think they're doing this mostly for generating buzz for the Oscars because ratings have been in decline. But now you have the first Oscars where a man who has transed into a woman is being nominated. So that's your like low hanging fruit desperation for marketing to get eyes on your show. But I don't think it's going to work the way they expect.
Yeah,
I had it on in the background. And I turn to it every once in a while. It seems very nonsensical, so I didn't sit down and watch it. I had it playing in the background while I was doing something else, and yeah, that's about as much as I'm going to give it.
Yeah, I just am wondering what will the fallout be. It could sweep the Oscars. It could lose at the Oscars.
Oh, I hope it sweeps everything.
I know.
I hope it takes it all.
And so do I, because it'll prove that the Oscars haven't been valuable for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah.
The Oscars, like the Super Bowl, like big events where we all gather, they're culturally important. Where does this put the Oscars now?
Again, like I said, it goes back to the irrelevance where it was, because right before they, I think, expanded the Best Picture category, people were starting to check out. Then they threw it up 10 nominations, I think, to get Black Panther in the door. So then people would actually maybe pay attention to see if Black Panther would win.
Who's hosting?
Conan O'Brien.
Like Will Smith and like, The Slap the next year. People kind of wanted to see what the next controversy is. So I think they're gonna bet on this, like the controversy surrounding Emilia Pérez, in hopes that it'll brings the viewership to the Oscars.
Well,
yeah, I don't think that's going.
I've always thought that we're in the middle of this debate. I mean, I have friends that are trans people, and what I find interesting about if you look at people online like Blair White, if you know who Blair White is, she's a trans woman, and she'll tell you she's a trans woman, or Brianna Wu, who I really, really like, a trans woman who's been married to a guy for 18 years. She's a political columnist. She was involved in Gamergate. Really like her. She will tell you that she is not a woman. She'll say, I'm not a biological woman. She'll flat out say it. She's like, just because I'm a trans woman did not suddenly make me a woman. And what I find really interesting about this debate is that when someone decides to transition, a lot of people will say that they are an actual woman. And if you're genderizing the category of actor, you're splitting it between men and women. If you're born a biological woman, there are things that you have to consider from the time you're very young. One of those is, are you going to have children? And you're the only person that has that. So the mindset of being a woman from the time you're very young, you have your own mother and your grandmother, you are dealing with a mindset that a man can never have. And so when you decide to become, say, an actress, or go into professional sports, do whatever you want to do as a woman, you are bringing with you a mindset that a man does not nor will ever have. And a biological woman has to confront, well, whether it's the patriarchy or whatever else, they have to confront things that they fight against. They have to fight against, it's a man's world, fight against that. And to go into a profession where you're given an award because it's gendered, you go in and you're going to be the best actress. You have done things, think things, and feel things that men cannot feel since you were born. And so when there's a gendered category that's always been gendered, and if you have somebody that was not born a biological female, they have not had to face the very things from birth that women have to face. Intellectually, metaphorically, socially, ideologically, at all. So to have a gendered category And then to have somebody who was born a biological male enter that category is somehow denigrating to all women that have been women since they've been born.
By the way, at Award This, we actually gender split our director award so that we're
Wow.
able to give male directors and female directors recognition. It's about expanding the pool of people. If the Oscars are going to split actors by male and female, why not filmmakers, director, we call it directress. And I'm sure I'll be canceled for doing that. But look, the purpose was really to call attention to female filmmakers. They have a different perspective. And Coralie
100%.
Farge, I'm so happy she got the nomination for The Substance. I feel like The Substance, I've said, one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm so happy it got this far. I hope Demi wins it. But Coralie Farge, her directing on this film, only a woman could have told that story.
Yep, in that way.
That perspective in that way. And that's all I'll say about that. Badger, if you would give us a couple highlights from this, you can scroll. I sent it to you.
Yeah, I got it. I'll just read the first part.
Yeah, sure.
The Oscars 2025 nominations are out. We can officially say that Emilia Pérez has already made history. Its 13 nominations make it the most nominated non-English language production of all time, surpassing, of course, like we talked about, Godfather and others, Tiger and Dragon and Roma, each bagging 10 noms in 2018, respectively. Emilia Pérez's success at 2025 Oscars, not precisely a surprise. We are talking about a film that has not stopped sweeping since its official presentation at the Cannes Film Festival, where it bagged not only the jury prize, but also a joint award for its female cast. And of course, we list them all. Netflix acquired the movie's exhibition rights in the United States and the United Kingdom. French audiences were able to see it in theaters as early as last summer, while other territories had to wait, with some still waiting. Presented as an eccentric narco musical with an intense focus on visuals, Emilia Pérez might just be the director's most atypical work to date. It's also undoubtedly his most successful and highly problematic. In January 2022, the Telerama released a 5-episode special covering Adard's entire creative process for the movie. It went from the initial spark, which he said came to him while reading a novel by French author, to what later became the first script for the film, written entirely on his own. It went through an intermediate phase where Emilia Pérez was to be an opera in 4 acts. If you have seen the movie, you'd know that the operatic spirit remains more or less intact in the final result. In fact, in interviews, he explains that the characters, dialogues, situations, staging, and above all, musical numbers are not to be interpreted literally, but rather as part of an artistic and hyperbolic hallucination that does not set out to portray the socio-political situation of 2025 Mexico City rigorously. And here lies, in essence, the colossal conundrum that Emilia Pérez has posed among critics and audiences around the world, which we could summarize in a couple of questions. Does Jacques Adard, have the rights to use the criminal terror of the Mexican cartels, a drama too real and painful for so many people, as the basis of his musical fantasy? Or is it all just frivolity bordering on insult? You want me to continue? Stop right
that's
there.
the big
So,
question.
yeah.
That's the main point right there.
Well, he did his research. Yeah.
So how does this movie get, and I'll say this, I know how. Netflix hired the publicist who worked with Harvey Weinstein. That Harvey Weinstein, everything he, oversaw, ended up getting a lot of Oscar noms. I mean, there'd be particular movies that did really well, but he really innovated that process with a publicist who now works at Netflix, which is how Netflix has gotten so many Oscar noms over the last several years. They just hired his people, hired Harvey's old PR team. So I think that helps. But it's
just like you said, that last bit about basically, again, going back to the conversation about authenticity and really understanding what this moment meant for the people that it most affected. Like, there's no authenticity to it. You know, it feels like the folks that are basically saying, it's like, you guys just took a very, difficult subject for a lot of, Latinos and Mexicans, and you basically trivialized it.
Can I read the last part before we finish?
Please.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead,
it's sort of what Steph said, but I feel like they're hinting at it, where it says, now we only have one question to tackle in this brief article. Why on earth has Emilia Pérez connected so intensely, not only with the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, but also with the Cannes jury and Hollywood Foreign Press Association? Or more simply put, how can such a divisive movie sweep not only the Oscars, but also the film festival and the Golden Globes? Now, they chalk it up to possibly like the Renaissance in musicals or something, but it's probably more what Steph and we all know is that
even better, if you don't vote for it, you're a bad person.
yes,
It's gonna win.
They're sweeping new requirements to be nominated.
I hope it wins because maybe there'll be another discussion. I say next year only trans people get nominated for actress. Why not?
By the way, I just put in a Glad wrote an article. Emilia Pérez is not good trans representation. I put it in the chat,
thanks, Rob.
private chat.
I'm gonna okay, cool. I'm gonna bring that up.
But I mean, if you have an actor, again, from a I don't know what kind of a perspective, but if you have an actor that transitions to becoming a woman, trans actor who does so at 46 years old, so they've lived as a male for 46 years, and you go into a gendered category where someone like Demi Moore has been in Hollywood acting as a woman for the better part of a half century. Does that come into, should that be taken into consideration?
All the actresses in the category for Best Actress have been a woman longer than the actor from
and
Emilia
had
Pérez.
to grow up and face the difficulties all women face moving through the world.
Right.
And this actor did not.
This is what J.K. Rowling was talking about. Like, let's not do all of the experiences and hard-won rights of actual women, please. And that's what we've sort of done.
Well, as my friend Paul Chato has said, men make the best women. So that will be, that'll be affirmed come
granted,
this
like,
Saturday.
okay, this trans person hasn't experienced, life as a woman as long as all of these actresses have. But in my opinion, I hope he wins. Like, they deserve this. This is what they've been pushing for, right? Like, this is if you're not for this movie, if you're not for this, then you're transphobic. They've been really punching down at the audience for years, calling them, misogynist, transphobics, and all of these names. I hope he wins. I hope he wins because this is really the culmination of all of these years of, saying fuck you if you're not woke like we are.
But it's interesting. Eddie Redmayne playing the Danish girl.
I honestly,
Hilary
I
Swank and Boys
no
Will Cry.
sympathy
Those
for
weren't virtue
the
signals.
actresses who lose.
Sorry, Steph. But Robert, right? Those weren't those done for real art? Boys Don't Cry, because that goes farther back. Hilary Swank. I had no idea about that type of thing, that there were women that would act like all that, the whole thing, the binders. But wasn't that that wasn't done to hit check boxes, right?
No, but I don't think it's about. I think philosophically, I mean, I don't have a problem with any kinds of people. But what's interesting is from a philosophical and sociological standpoint, how are we going to move forward as a culture and allow representation to happen, which it should, all different kinds of people. There's a whole myriad of different kinds of human beings with different belief systems and different ways of life, which I think should all be honored and respected. However, when it comes to different categories of things like this, is it right to take people who have lived a certain way their whole lives, who can't help but live the way they've lived because that's how they were born? Is it proper then, or is it fair if someone who didn't have to deal with that growing up until they decided to make a change, that they're considered the same kinds of people, equal, if you will? And I think that's something we haven't grasped or grappled with honestly yet.
I think it would make a bigger difference if like it was a trans woman who was nominated in a better movie.
Right.
That could very well be too.
Yeah. Let's go to Soups here. Great commentary from Soup. Here we go.
Dave Chappelle for 50. I want that dude to win Best Actress, so all those woke actresses have to applause and smile for a man who took away their chance for recognition. Yes, Steph agrees with you. Lord comment for 2. If Emilia is better than Godfather, I'm Elvis Presley.
Thanks, Elvis.
Tony D'Andro here for 5. So if Ben-Hur was renamed Ben-Hur, maybe it would have gotten more than 11 Oscars. Joe Pat 87 for 199. Is it wrong to say spite is motivating the Oscars?
No, I think you're right. I think there's some spite among Academy members about the election of Donald Trump and their way of expressing it, other than crying videos or, still being angry, is to vote this way. It influenced the vote.
Do you think that there's going to be more virtue signaling in their speeches at the Oscars than
Yes.
the Golden Globes? Because there was like none at the Golden Globes. It was very
Steph,
clean.
all I want to know is it going to be the gayest Oscars? Medea also for 20. These the gayest Oscar nominations. If I think they're going to be the gayest. Yeah.
Well, just wait till award this. I know there's going to be
Oh.
some virtue signaling.
Mark from Variety
It'll
will
be
be there, I
amazing.
hope.
No, actually, we're doing a bit on award this that I'm very excited about. I'm only going to tell the people here. We have a Hollywood actress who's going to come and lecture everyone in a big
Nice.
lecture.
Justine Bateman? No,
It's being played by a comedian friend of mine. She auditioned for SNL. I can't say who she is because you might know her, but we're doing a little bit that's going to play into this, and if you attend live, you'll get to see it. So, or watch on YouTube. Anyways, cool. Yeah.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. for 10. When you have actresses dress their adopted sons as girls, you will have this continue. This is an issue with elite women of influence who want affirmation and to be seen as her. It's Munchausen by proxy. Basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the other nominees are going to clap like seals, and they're going to blow kisses to the guy who took their award from them. It's going to be a shit show.
War Machine 300 gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. We appreciate you. Alejandro Montoya Marin for $9.99. Great convo, everyone. I didn't like it. I'll tell you more at award this. Shout out.
Alejandro is a nominated filmmaker.
Ooh,
Yeah,
see
and he
there.
has a very cool film that's out right now, so you guys should look him up now.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. for another 10. That clip from Emilio Pérez makes the Polish musical, The Lure, feel like Singing in the Rain. The Lure is fun, though. Cannibal mermaids singing, dancing.
The
romance.
Lure is awesome. Female
I've not seen
director.
I've not seen it.
The Lure is great. I have the Criterion Blu-ray.
Jeff Pro Maddox for 2. This reminds me of that scene from Deuce Bigelow.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one. Skiz Spivak Esquire gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. Shout out to you.
There you go. And we're going to leave it there, folks. Everyone, plug your channels, and Badger is live in 30 minutes.
30 minutes,
tonight.
Badger Cast, episode 102.
Link will be directing you over there. Everybody go. Let's go. Just there we go.
Hey, so this Saturday on Scripts on Saturday, my channel at 7 p.m. we'll be reviewing a screenplay by Julia Cox called "Love of Your Life" as part of the theme we're doing in February of romance screenplays. So be sure to check that out at youtube.com/scriptdoctor. Thank you.
What's up, y'all? Derek Anderson, the DA. Nightcaps every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then, of course, the DA's office Sunday night. Thanks once again to Film Threat. Appreciate you guys. Love this conversation. We'll see y'all on the next one.
What's happening, guys? Dante from Verbal Riot. You can catch me tomorrow with George the Giant Slayer at 12 noon. You can catch me on Saturday nights on Flashcast and on Sunday mornings with Slayer Nation.
Oh, you're muted, Steph. You're
No.
muted. You're muted.
Nope.
Oh no,
Doesn't count.
it's okay.
Sorry, my dogs were barking, so I
It's all
muted.
good. It's all good.
Stephanie, aka My Nerdy Home. Go and check out my channel. I have 2 videos coming soon. One on Snow White and the other another video over on Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's situation. I've been paying really close attention to that. Also, if you guys are headed to MegaCon this year, you can check out geeksandgamers.com and find all of the information there as far as like panel schedules, as well as the RSVP to the meetup. That's
Cool. Thanks, Steph.
Hey, Rob Burnett here on loan from the Burnett Work. You can find me on YouTube commentating. And also, please pick up my new audio drama, star-studded audio drama, 10-chapter, fully immersive audio drama by Max Allen Collins, who wrote Road to Prediction. It's called True Noir. You can find it at truenoir.co. truenoir.co.
TrueNoir.co. BadgerCast coming up, and then Inside the Badgerton Friday, and then I'll be at Award This coming up on Sunday, so you can yell at me in person. Tell me how horrible I am. Bye. Happy birthday, Robert.
Award This Sunday. Join us. And special episode of Hollywood on the Rocks tomorrow. We're going to talk Spider-Man.
That's right. Alan and I will have seen all the episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, things go acolyte. So get ready. I'm serious. So it'll be tomorrow night. We haven't set a time, but tomorrow night, Hollywood on the Rocks, a special episode dedicated to this. I want to thank everybody. Thank our mods. I want to thank Atomic Lori, Glenn Nuccio, Latino Slant, Zax, Lord Thoth, everyone who helps us out. We appreciate you. We will be back a week from today. Well, hopefully, if we survive Award This,
we'll make
it's gonna be kind of crazy. But most of us will be here. Steph, you should come out one time. It's a
I would love to. Yeah,
it's super fun. We make fun of everything. So and you can watch it on YouTube and check it out. All right, thank you everybody. We will be back, and we will. I don't know. We'll survive all this. All right, take care, everyone. Later, Alan.
Let's get out of here.